Good afternoon and welcome to the last part of the Shamanic Journey series of articles within my book, Shamanic Journey, Crossing the Portal of 2020-2021. This last part is called Achieving Balance. On Saturday, 16th of January 2021, I had my last kinesiology healing session to wrap up my shamanic journey for the crossing of the portal between last year and this year. It turned out that my body's memory was stuck at the time when I was 15. Quite a few things happened in my life at that age, but I think that the most important one was that having to stay in bed without moving for a month because I had hepatitis and receiving daily injections. I was displaced, disoriented, to say the least. At the same time, this was the last school year and the last term, so I had the stress of having to prepare for the final school exams, all of which I needed to pass in order to be accepted in college. I was leaving the nuns' school, in which I had been educated for 9 years, an all-girls school, to move into a mixed college. That year was a tough test of my determination and focus, maybe a small sample of what was to come. That same year, I also went to the dentist for the first time, and I wasn't looking too good for me, he said. And it wasn't looking too good for me. He said I needed quite a few fillings. In the website acupuncturetoday.com, and I put the link there for you, Nicholas Sieben LAC talks about the alchemy of physiological metabolism, or the way we interact with the outside world through digestion. In the previous 4 parts of this shamanic journey article series, I have talked about meridians and their linked organs, energy pathways, and related emotions. But in this website, I came across a concept that I had never heard before, and which seemed to bring my research into close very nicely. It was the Luo Vessels. Basically, the Luo Vessels are blood vessels under the skin that hold onto toxins and bacteria that could harm the body by preventing them from circulating through the meridians into the organs. Nicholas Sieben LAC says that, first of all, we receive the food in our mouth and that our teeth are sensitive to everything that is going on. Chewing comes before digesting, which are 2 different cognitive stages, whether we realize it or not. But in the case when our emotions are out of balance, not integrated, whether it is because of their suppression or their own overexpression, we can't digest what we chew, physically and metaphorically. He describes these Luo vessels as portals or communication channels between the exterior and the interior in our bodies, and he adds that they are conduits of yin qi. In TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, the blood and body fluids at a physical level, or shen, as our mind and emotions. Shen is a Chinese word for what means spirit or soul. The Luo vessels carry blood, and the blood carries shen. Therefore, our consciousness and hence our emotions. Blocked Luo vessels demonstrate blocked emotions. So at the time of my root canal in around 1998, I was living in the UK, and I had been going to homeopathy sessions for about 5 years. It all started with recurrent nightmares that I didn't understand, nor did I know why they were happening. But I remember having them since I was a child, and a lot of allergies. I hadn't really had anything else done at the dentist since that episode when I was 15 years old until this time when I was about 30. But it was a root canal as well as all my original feelings being changed from mercury to a less poisoning mix. It is possible that a second cycle started at that point, parallel to the first cycle that started at 15, both of which culminated this 16th of January 2021. Isn't it ironic that, on the one hand, I was trying to heal myself by using homeopathy to integrate the broken pieces of my psyche, and on the other hand, I was setting the course of self-poisoning for the next 23, 25 years of my life by keeping a dead tooth that was releasing some of the most potent toxins in the planet. You can read about this in the previous article of my shamanic journey. It was at that time too that I got into spirituality. It seems that every time that we are given a challenge, we are also given the solution. As I was opening up paths to release the struggle and emotional pain, as I was healing myself slowly but persistently, using Reiki and many other alternative therapies, My body was forced to keep fighting powerful bacteria in the background, waiting for the moment when I caught myself spiritually up with the level of my body cognizance. Looking back now, it is no wonder that I always felt that my handbrake was on, always pushing forward with effort and struggle. And it is incredible to realize that it took my body about 23 years to be ready to fight that toxic root canal, my immune system standing up in arms against this hidden enemy that had been slowing my growth. So the infection wasn't a curse but a blessing. It provoked the removal of the tooth, and with it, the opening of the blocked meridians, the putting down of my handbrake, and the release of the struggle. As always, the spiritual path is a path of integration of consciousness. Until we know a lesson at every level of our being, we don't really know the lesson. Following with the Luo Vessels, we know that when the blood and body fluids stagnate because our qi doesn't flow harmoniously throughout the body, the stomach can't process all this erratic energy and produces blood to try to negotiate the imbalance. The toxins trapped in the Luo vessels create heat, and this is called Luo Latency. Luo Latency is a temporary and compromised state of the body attempting to prevent the circulation of harmful toxins, but holding on to them. But again, just like with my dead tooth, if we do not get rid of harmful bacteria, either by excreting it through the skin, it robs and steals energy from the body. It depletes the body from energy or qi. This is a very expensive way of living for the body, and it is the equivalent to holding on to the toxicity of our lives, bad relationships, wrong beliefs, harmful ideas, limiting thoughts. The price of holding on to all this is very costly indeed. Parallel to this, when we get stuck mentally or emotionally, we react in excess or defect, both of which are overcompensation for our loss of power. And all overcompensation is translated into effort and struggle, an attempt to control reality without flowing with the real causes that produced that reality in the first place. The final principle related to Luo is that we have it in three main organs. Stomach Luo, which digests the food, the spleen Luo categorizes the feelings, and the heart Luo articulates them. Nicholas Sieben LAC says, there are 16 Luo connecting points, where the 16 collateral split from the main meridians. The Luo collateral circulate yin, nutritive, qi, and they act as a buffer, filling the space between the skin and muscle, therefore nourishing both deep and superficial tissues. They release pathogens to the surface because they flow between the main primary meridians and the muscular regions. These collaterals help us let go of what we have internalized for years. They allow us to process emotions and clear thoughts. It took for me 23 years to release issues that started in my life at the age of 5 and that crystallized as shown by my teeth by the age of 15. Then at the age of 30, I had a root canal and an operation to have my 2 bottom wisdom teeth removed. It was a very risky operation. And finally, with the root canal 3 years ago, which started the process, I believe, of asphyxiating the tooth inside and cascading to the culmination of the infection and its removal. And it took for me to get into spirituality and to create a systematic path of integration of my energy bodies, many kinesiology sessions, thousands of hours of research, and incredible determination, focus, and self-discipline to release the self-lies that we tell ourselves when we are not yet ready to look at the truth in the eye. So this last kinesiology session closed the 3 or 4 superimposed karmic cycles that started that early in my life. A 50-year cycle since 5, a 40-year cycle since 15, a 25-year cycle since 30, and a 5-year cycle since I started to work with a school, which I've just left. Like concentric cycles, the smaller ones within the larger ones, all entangled with unresolved emotional layers of subconscious frequencies, guilt, need to forgive, need to release struggle, need to accept, need to allow. I have been integrating all of this over the last 2 decades, a task I thought would never end, but I can say today that I feel liberated from. And we are not talking just about trauma or shattered dreams. We are talking about genetic and karmic hidden lessons too. Again, this process is just a long journey of releasing the control of the ego and to allow our higher self to guide us more satisfactorily. And to allow our higher self to guide us to more satisfactory, fulfilling, and complete lives. It is incredible how all traumas are confined in the body, in the lymphatic and cardiovascular systems, kidneys, spleen, liver, lungs, each organ with its corresponding emotions, and each meridian serving as a highway of energy, transporting all the frequencies of consciousness around the body. But the organs cannot function well living in the past, and even when we may have spiritually and cognitively seen and resolved an issue, the body holds on to them as if it was there in the moment when the episode took place, because the body really has a mind of its own. There is a gap between emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical energies. And alternative healing sessions integrate all of these layers in the present now. We have to release and reset all father-mother issues, all genetic, karmic, and generational issues, energetically crystallized in our DNA and in our cellular memory before being able to pronounce ourselves healed and free. Isn't it any wonder why we lose faith on the journey? When we feel that we can't go on, when we are exhausted or fed up, it is just too easy to get distracted and lose sight of the end goal. And we live in a society that is created to make a lot of noise and to distract us continuously, so that the path of self-healing and spirituality really is an individual path that can only be chosen by sheer love, compassion, and commitment to transformation and alchemy of the soul, the transmutation of the base energies into gold or wisdom. This is the road of tough love, exhaustive and ongoing cleansing of what is no longer needed, fierce releasing, and a balancing act to focus on the here and now. It is an all or nothing task with all the consequences. In this path, the key is to always observe with detachment, not identifying with the Maya or illusion of the matrix, continuously walking on a tightrope, trying to keep our balance, and always walking on the right direction, the direction of the light and freedom. This is an individual path, an individual challenge, and an individual choice. This is a path for the brave, walked one step at a time. But it is the way we can create our magnificent destinies. Thank you for listening. See you next time.